Hello my dear friends. In this video we are going to discuss about what are the different types of locking protocols available in order to do the concurrency control. So we'll see what are the locking protocols. So as its name indicates, what is the meaning of a protocol? The rules and regulations, set of rules and regulations to be followed by the transactions while doing the locking in order to provide the concurrency control is called as locking protocol. Which set of rules and regulations that are needed to be followed by our transactions to ensure the concurrency control while using this locking mechanism are called as locking protocols. Now we will discuss what are the different types of locking protocols available. So see, there are actually three types of locking protocols available. The first version of the locking protocol is 2PL. 2PL can be called as two-phase locking protocol. There are two versions or variations of this 2PL called as strict 2PL and rigorous 2PL. Strict 2PL and rigorous 2PL. There are basically one standard protocol is there, that is called as two-phase locking protocol. The two-phase locking protocol is having two variations of it, that are strict 2PL and rigorous 2PL. We will discuss what is the meaning of the two-phase locking protocol. As its name indicates, in the case of your two-phase locking protocol, the locking mechanism consisting of two phases that are called as shrinking phase and growing phase, and each and every transaction must go through three different steps by using this three-phase locking protocol. The first step or the first phase is whenever any transaction enters into its execution phase, it should get all the required locks on the data item before starting its execution phase. Once any transaction wishes to execute any of its operations, before starting of its execution, it should get all the required locks on all the data item. So for that purpose, it requests the transaction manager to issue the required locks by that particular transaction. So as a second part, the transaction manager checks the availability of the requested locks, and if the locks are available, the locks will be granted to the particular transaction. Whenever the particular transaction has got all the locks that is requested by it, then the transaction enters into the second phase and it executes all the requested operations. After executing all the requested operations, it enters into the third part, that is called as it is going to release the locks on that particular data item. So what is the first step? Requesting locks. Requesting needed locks. The second step is getting the locks and start execution. After the operations are over, they will release the lock. So while performing these three steps, whenever the transaction is getting the requested logs data item by data item, that phase is called as growing phase. That phase is called as growing phase. As its name indicates, the number of logs getted by that particular transaction are continuously growing in the case of this growing phase. Whenever the requested log is available, it gets the log. Whenever the other log is available, it gets the log. Continuously it is obtaining all the requested logs. That phase is called as growing phase. During the third step, once the particular operations are over, the transaction tries to release the log on the data item. It releases the log on the first data item after completing the operation on the first item. It releases the log on the second data item after completing the requested operation on the second data item. So this type of phase is called as shrinking phase. So by means of this two-phase locking protocol, these are the set of rules and regulations to be followed by our transactions. That is, before any transaction wish to execute, it mandatorily should get all the needed logs. So it should request the transaction manager all the needed logs. After getting all the logs that is needed, so it enters into this growing phase. It gets the logs on each and every data item by entering into the growing phase. After obtaining all the logs, it starts its execution. So after completing the execution, after it starts the releasing the logs on the data items. That type of phase is called as a shrinking phase. You will see that. So see, growing phase. It obtains the log at the time T1. No logs are available. At that time T2 it acquires the logs. At another time it acquires another log. At another point of time it acquires another logs. The number of logs are going to be increased. The first time point of view, no logs are there. Next, the number of logs are increasing. Again the number of logs are increasing. Again the number of logs are increasing. So after all the requested logs are gained by that particular transaction, it starts its execution of its operations. After completing its execution, it releases the logs one by one. It releases first log, it releases next log, it releases next log. So that type of phase is called as shrinking phase. So in the growing phase, the transaction gets one by one log. That phase is called as growing phase. Once it has got all the logs, it enters into the execution phase. It starts execution of all of its operations. After completing operation one by one operation, it releases the log on that particular data item. After completing another operation, it releases the log on that particular data item. That phase is called as shrinking phase. So this is the growing phase. In this phase, the transaction may obtain the logs but may not release the logs. Once it has got all the logs, it starts its execution. After completing one operation, it may release the log and may not obtain any log. So these are the two phases regarding our 2PL protocol. We will explain this 2PL protocol with some simple example now. So see. మిన్ను సౌండ్ వినిపిస్తుంది, తగ్గించాలి. మిన్ను సౌండ్ వినిపిస్తుంది, సౌండ్ వినిపిస్తుంది. So this is my schedule for example. So what is my schedule? Interleaved execution I will show here. So before starting the execution of T1, what is the first step? It should request all of its needed logs. What are the needed logs? It should get shared log on A. It should get shared log on B. It should get exclusive log on C. So there are three operations to be performed by R1. What are the three operations? R of A, R of B, W of C. So in order to perform R of A, what type of log is required? Shared log is required. In order to perform R of B, what type of log is required? Shared log on B is required. In order to perform W of C, we require exclusive log on C. So in my database, what are the data items I am having? A, B, C. So at the first step, T1 request shared log on A and B and request exclusive log on C. Isn't it? So T1 request shared log on A, shared log on B and exclusive log on C. Now the transaction manager checks to see the availability of requested logs. A is free or not? Yes, it's free. So it should give T1 shared log. B is also logged by T1 in shared mode and C is logged by T1 in exclusive mode. Okay, now. So as because it is the first transaction, no another transactions are using these objects. The transaction manager issues all the logs after checking the availability. As because all of the data items are free, it grants shared log on A, it grants shared log on B, it grants exclusive log on C. Now T1 acquires all of its log. Once it is getting the shared log on A, shared log on B and shared log on C, the number of logs are, it gets shared log on A, next it gets shared log on B, next it gets exclusive log on C. The number of logs are being increasing, so this phase is called as growing phase of your T1. Growing phase of your T1. Once the number of logs it is acquiring, first it acquires the shared log on A, after it acquires the shared log on B, after it acquires the shared log on C, it starts its execution. Next, what is the next phase? Next step is start execution of its operations. It starts its execution. It starts R of A, it starts R of B, it starts W of C. Meanwhile, as a second step, whenever T2 wishes to perform W of A, it should get what type of log? T2 request exclusive log on A, and what type of log is required? T2 request exclusive log on B and T2 request exclusive log on C. So in order to perform W of A, it should request exclusive log on A. In order to perform W of B, it should request exclusive log on B. In order to perform W of C, it should request exclusive log on C. That is the first step of your T2. Now the transaction manager checks the availability of the particular logs. See, in order to issue the exclusive log on A, see the status of A. But A has been already logged by T1. So it will issue that request? No. So check the status of B. It has been already logged by T1. So is it possible to give the log to T2? It is also not granted. To test for C, Is it given? It is also not given. So all of these operations cannot be proceeded and T2 will be blocked as because no single log it gains as it has not been entered into its growing phase. So whenever R of A has been completed, what will be done? T1 releases log on A. Once the T1 releases the log on A, that particular log will be granted to T2. T2 gets log on A. T1 releases. So once T1 completed R of B, T1 releases log on B and that particular log is given to T2. T2 gets exclusive log on B. Okay now. So once W of C has been completed, T1 releases the log and the log will be given to T2. T2 will log that particular data item in exclusive mode. So once all of these operations are completed, T1 start releasing on A, releasing the log on B, releasing the log on C. That is called as T1 enters into shrinking phase. T1 enters into shrinking phase by releasing the log on A, by releasing the log on B, by releasing the log on C. Once it releases the log, the T2 starts, gets the shared log on T2 starts, gets exclusive log on A, gets exclusive log on B, gets exclusive log on C. Now T2 has entered into growing phase. After it starts execution. After completing its execution, again it starts to release the logs on that particular data item. It will enter into the shrinking phase. That's how the 2PL is working. So before executing any operations, all the transactions first it will request the particular needed logs. And the transaction manager checks the availability of the logs on that particular data item. If they are available, the logs will be issued to the particular transactions. When the transaction gets all the requested logs, that phase is called as growing phase. Once the growing phase has been completed, the transaction starts its execution. After executing and after completing each and every operation, it tries to release the logs and that particular phase is called as shrinking phase. Clear? So the next type of locking is strict 2PL. As already we have told, the strict 2PL is a variant of normal two-phase locking protocol. In the case of two-phase locking protocol, once the transaction completes its actions, it tries to release the lock on that particular data item. But here in the case of your strict 2PL, even though some of the operation in the transaction has been completed, the transaction never releases the lock whatever it acquires. It only releases the lock at the point of time of commit. Whenever it commits, then only it releases all the locks whatever it holding on. That type of protocol is called as strict 2PL. So we'll see what is the disadvantage of your 2PL and strict 2PL now. Variations. So see what are the operations of your T1? R of A and W of C. What are the operations of your T2? W of A, W of B, R of C. This is the interleaved execution. So first T1 request So this is commit of T1. Next commit of T2. It should request shared lock on A and exclusive lock on C. So it checks the availability of the locks. If A, B, C are there, if C, A and B and C are initially free, so T1 locks in shared mode A and T1 locks C in exclusive mode. Okay now. So whenever T2 requests W of A, it is not granted, it should be in a waiting state. Whenever T2 requests W of B, it issues, so it locks B in exclusive mode by T2. So whenever it requests R of C, as it has been already locked by T1, the T2 should wait. For example, if the T1 has completed R of A, but it is still executing W of C, it is not able to release the lock on A as opposite to that of your normal 2PL. In the case of normal 2PL, once the transaction completes any action, it starts to release the lock on that particular data item. Now, in the case of your strict 2PL, even though the T1 has completed R of A, it never releases the lock on A, and it is going to release the lock on A at the point of time of commit. Whenever it performs the commit action, then only it releases lock on A and C. Until unless the commit is executed, it holds all the locks whatever it requires. So at the time of point of commit only, it enters into shrinking phase. It tries to release the lock on A and it tries to release the lock on C. Whenever it releases the lock on A, then the lock will be given for T2. T2 gets the lock on A in the exclusive mode, and whenever it releases the lock on C, the C is locked by T2 in exclusive mode. Now the T2 is granted all of its requested lock, that is exclusive lock on A, exclusive lock on B, and shared lock on C already has been granted. So now the T2 enters into growing phase. It starts its execution. That is the difference between strict 2PL and normal 2PL. In the case of your normal 2PL, whenever any transaction completes one of the action, it releases the locks. But in the case of your strict 2PL, even though it has completed its actions, it doesn't release any lock until unless it is going to perform the commit action. That is the difference between normal 2PL and strict 2PL. Now I will discuss what is another variation of your 2PL. The another variation of your 2PL is rigorous 2PL. It is also similar to that of your strict 2PL. But what is the variation of your rigorous 2PL is, in the case of your rigorous 2PL, the transaction tries to release the lock on